So Four Knights of the Apocalypse chapter 167 is out, and we officially get the start for the tournament. 100% first matchup, Percival against Gareth, and this was actually pretty fun. The chapter went by relatively quickly, so it wasn't too much for me to really super dive into, but I think we're off to a good start, and the way the chapter ended, I am actually excited to see where this pans out, because this could end up being a not too short fight, but I'm excited to see where it goes. And there's also a piece of dialogue in here that I'm curious to see if I understand who Beltrop ends up talking about at the start of this chapter. Before we get into things, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Also, is this background better? I'm doing this in my room this time, and this might be a bit better, and the lighting might be just a bit nicer. So let me know for future face cam videos. Let's jump right into the chapter. So chapter 167 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled Percival versus Gareth, with Beltrop on the cover, and he just keeps looking so goddamn cool. I really want to see him in an actual fight soon. But the chapter starts off with Beltrop being incredibly happy, because it seems like things are about to be fun and is about to begin. As Beltrop states that the winner from last time is back, still searching the cauldron for a strong opponent, despite earning the right to leave. That's an interesting thing, because he also says that that sharp-eyed kid has some rather neat power. Let's hope this time provides the kind of action I need to make my blood boil. So this first page already gives me something, either talking about Gareth or Balin. Based on this chapter, Beltrop might be talking about Gareth, but based on how Gareth was talking in the previous chapter about not being able to leave, I do think it's Balin, and it would be pretty interesting if Balin entered the tournament to find a strong opponent, ends up fighting Gawain, and probably views Gawain as an awesome opponent. Or it is Gareth, and it has something to do with the reason for not being able to leave, despite quote-unquote having the right to leave. I find that interesting. If there is someone in this tournament, Balin or Gareth, probably Balin in my opinion, that is just choosing to stay in this prison because he just wants a good fight. That'd be pretty interesting. We then cut to the actual stadium, where Edlin and Boris are just kind of watching in the actual stadium. And this feels very Dragon Ball, the way the stadium is set up, as like an actual martial arts ring. So, stadium is packed with all the prisoners and stuff like that, watching, getting ready to see what's going on with the fight. And yeah, pretty interesting. And it's just Edlin just saying how disappointed he is that despite the fact that he came along for this mission to sneak into the festival to help the Knights of Prophecy, he kind of feels bad that he wasn't able to enter, yet Donnie ended up entering instead of him into the finals, like making it to the finals, and his masters in the finals. But yeah, he's just kind of sulking a bit that he wasn't able to make it through. But it's a pretty interesting and fun conversation between the two of them. As then, we actually get the competitors for the fight entering the ring. Percival and Gareth entered the arena. And I am really happy, because this looks really fun. Also, I do like how in this chapter, Edlin is just off on the sidelines. This is shown in a few other pages, but Edlin's just off on the sidelines, just telling Percival to take out Gareth for just jumping him. So, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. And I like how Percival just high-fives a random guy in the crowd, just getting all hyped up for the tournament. I find that pretty fun. And the main group is behind him, just rooting for him off on the sideline, as they're all waiting for their chances to fight. But we then see Tristan behind all of them, most likely either being kind of wary of Percival or feeling some sort of connection to Percival, with someone wrapped up in rags shouting tantras that just makes it to the stadium right where Boris and Edlin are. Hey, really quick, post-editing Chris here. Just wanted to let you guys know I did not mention this for some reason, but the person wrapped in the cloth is most likely the fake or second Isolde from the start of this arc. That was with Tristan, probably sneaking here to see Tristan fight, and this will probably play a big role at some point with Tristan's initial fights. So just thought I'd mention it here, because for some reason I did not mention it and did not come to mind upon initial recording. So, yeah, sorry about that, but I'm curious to see where this part is actually going to go with this character and see how it'll affect Tristan with future fights. Now back to the actual video. Also, really quick, one of Tristan's swords, it is the sword Estarossa. I initially thought, I do like that this is a confirmation that he has the Estarossa sword. because that's a very powerful magic sword that cuts through magical defenses, or at least makes it easier to cut through magic-based defenses. So that's really cool, and also without the Mael's sword, it shows how his mind could have been warped throughout all this. Then the announcer tells everyone to be quiet as Beltrop has a statement to make for the festival. As then crystals begin to rise from the ground, with Beltrop and the announcer, Chaos Knight, whose name keeps eluding me for some reason, end up rising high up into the sky, as everyone notices that it is Beltrop at the top. As a chair generates, and he sits down with, honestly, he has a shit ton of aura being like, okay, to all the vermin who I care not in the least about, I hereby allow you to enjoy the Gladiator Festival alongside me. The way this guy has such arrogance, I think it almost rivals that of Escanor. But if Escanor was a total dick, that's all I gotta say for Beltrop. And I really want to see him fight, because he's the only one of the four perils that I legitimately think is cocky towards the sins. Was the only one that truly actually managed to do any lasting damage outside of Worldane, but that was mostly due to a curse and nerfing. And I like how Gawain instantly notices off in the distance that Beltrop is incredibly wary of everybody. He's very cautious and careful. He put up a barrier using those four spikes where he's sitting in order to give himself a protective barrier to protect himself so no one does any sneak attacks. And I guess Percival was kind of planning to potentially catch him off guard and take him down. Guess winning the tournament is the only real way he'll have a chance to meet up with Beltrop. And Gareth says, get ready to be beaten like I said yesterday. As we get quick instance of the rules, as a full page is shown of Gareth and Percival getting ready to square off. As the rule states, if you kill your opponent, knock them out, or make them give up, or throw them into the pit on the outer edge, you win. Okay, so basic tournament rules. When times like this, kill them, knock them out, have them give up, or they fall into the pit. That's pretty standard for a gladiator tournament. And I like how Boris is off on the crowd, just being like, so that's Percival, the Knight of the Apocalypse. As he remembers back at the start of the time skip in Camelot, when Anne told him about Percival and how in high regard she sees him someone as pure and caring as him. And so he's like, okay, let's see how much of a man he truly is. Let's see for ourselves if he really is worth all this praise by Anne, because basically worships Anne at this point. So anybody that she praises, he wants to see if it's the case. And so the battle begins. As we cut to Gareth just instantly doing barrage of slash attacks, counting 7 instances where Percival with his bare hands just parries and knocks him away like they're nothing. Basically pulling a Goku against future Trunks and just blocking the attack with his singular finger. Only Percival's just moving it aside with his bare hands, which it's really cool. Percival's incredibly overpowered. And then he pushes Gareth away after parrying so much, shocking the crowd. And I like this instance because Anne says that Percival blocked 7 slashes in a single instant. Same with Gareth, launching 7 slashes in a single instant. And I love how Donnie's like, wait, you could actually see all that? It makes sense for Anne. She uses a rapier, so she's used to fast and precise movements with a sword. But I like how it's also Donnie because he's mostly brute force and telekinesis for his powers. Mostly with a brawler type for a knight to an extent. But Anne makes sense. She can follow it. She's trained to that degree. And I love how Nazians is just gassing up Percival, parrying all those blows, getting super excited to see it. But also, this is definitely something that Percival can do barehanded now, in comparison, and a lot easier, and no nonsense, in compared to 2 years ago when he fought Mortledge. And that was with a sword. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting to see. This also shows that Gareth does have some skills to do a good number of attacks in an instance, but Percival is just outclassing him at this point. So Gareth tries to swing in for another sort of a swing attack, but Percival instantly grabs their stomach, and in that instance, shoves them aside. This seems like a pretty interesting shockwave type blow, as this causes Gareth to have to just tumble around to try and catch themselves from falling to lose their momentum. As Percival reveals that was a Grin move, which, as I remember from the start of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, is a type of Celtic wrestling that Percival used to do with his grandfather. And a part of me feels like Percival's just happy to do something like that, because probably hasn't done that in a long time, obviously due to being dead. But the fact that this is something he used to do with his grandpa all the time, he probably just got a crap ton of memories from that. But Hauser states that he notices that Percival did that and didn't mean to damage his foe. That wasn't the purpose of his attack. So Percival's definitely not trying to be like super damaging to his opponent to an extent. Probably can tell the difference in strength in this instance perhaps, or he's being careful. But An points out that this most likely something to do with range. And then Gareth looks up into the sky, noticing a bunch of spirit hands created by Percival, utilizing all the life spirits, and just slamming them down as he names them Meteor Hand to try and hit Gareth with a barrage of attacks. His leg does get caught in it, and he then gets slammed to the ground. And I love this huge impact from here because this is a callback to the fight with Talisker at the very beginning during the Echo Gorge arc where they met Nazians when Percival first did the magic aura hand to slam him down to the ground, which I love that callback, and I love how Percival's still using his aura, his magic attacks to create things, and the way he's doing a sheer number of them, multiples of these, without them being fully connected to his own hand, but can motion them for an attack is honestly really cool. And the fact we're seeing more of Percival utilizing his life spirit abilities in more creative ways is amazing. I love Toolbox-like abilities, and Percival's just insane. Percival keeps launching a bunch of attacks with Gareth trying to evade every single one of them. But then Percival, after going through all of this, creates a giant smoke screen, and Gareth tries to hide in it. And Percival hovers the hand over, and then he notices Gareth's force and sees him, most likely seeing through life spirits, as we see little tiny Percivals jiggle out of it, and then he slams down for the final blow. And once that lands, Percival notices something. It seems like Gareth wasn't damaged at all, standing with a sword, as the magical souls seem to be just dispersing and osmosing right through Gareth's body. As then someone else, as there are two people in the ring with Percival now, looking like Gareth. As this person says, "That sure was a close one, Gareth." Yeah, thanks for that, Lure. As the final page of the chapter shows Gareth and another character named Lure, who look identical, shocking Percival that there's two of them in this fight, ending the chapter. So, I got a few things. Like, I talked about the possibility that Balin won this tournament a long time ago. He does seem like the gladiator type that would enter these tournaments and maybe want to test his strength against strong opponents, and maybe that's why he didn't leave. But perhaps it might actually be Gareth, because based on what we've seen from this last section, this second Gareth, Lure, appeared out of nowhere to save Gareth from a potentially deciding blow. So for all we know, either this is a twin thing, or it's a magical ability that personifies a split personality, and the fact that the life spirit seems to not do anything to it might have to do with life spirits as well. So this might be Gareth's magic, and based on the attitude that Lure is giving off, it might have been Lure in that backstab to Edlin, seemingly killing him, and maybe that's why he was able to react to Edlin's soul. Lure might be either a spirit, a conjuration of Camelot that Gareth can now manipulate and bring out whenever he wants, or just the magical ability of Gareth to split himself into two separate personalities to fight. And while this probably isn't if this is the case, that'd most certainly not be a violation of the one-on-one rules that Beltrop is going to play into. Or if it is, Beltrop's going to be like, this is more interesting, I'll allow it. And I can see him doing that, because legitimately, this is hype. Percival's now in a 2v1 with Lure seemingly not super affected by Percival's life spirit abilities. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. And I'm really excited to see how this pans out, because this now lasts another 2 to 3 chapters, depending on if we get a backstory. We'll see how this pans out. But yeah, really solid chapter. I like the choreography of the fight. Percival was dominating. I like the utilization of his powers. Gareth was holding his own in the reveal of Lure at the end of the chapter, and explaining the difference in personalities from the preliminaries is definitely interesting to see. But also, I'm curious to see what Lure is and how it just appeared out of nowhere. And that's definitely going to show up within the next chapter. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and your theories on what could potentially happen for this whole series, and how things will pan out. And once more, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. And if you want to support the channel more directly, go check out my Patreon. I'm gearing stuff up for some exclusive videos on there as well. and you get access to my Patreon-only Discord server once you become a member of Patreon. All that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.